So this is the BroJ podcast. I'm your OJ.
I'm your bro.
And then we have Brandon's cousin Wes.
Mm-hmm. That's the only relation here.
That's my relation to him. That's Brandon's cousin.
Uh-huh.
So, because that's going to get it confusing for people, right?
Uh,
But you're my
Because,
cousin?
well, I'm not the bro in this.
No, I'm the
Even
bro.
though, even though
Yeah.
I'm
Hey, bro.
Right. If we said
OJ's,
that you were my brother,
that would confuse people.
that would confuse people. So you're just
Okay.
Brandon's cousin.
Okay, editor, could you cut that whole part out?
No.
where
You're
we
a
were
bro.
really-
You're a bro. I'm the bro.
You're the bro. I'm a bro
Mm-hmm.
who's Brandon's cousin, and some people think that he's another one of my brothers,
Specifically your kids.
my kids, and that he maybe lives here, even though he is only here every once in a while.
Yeah.
And then we have Chris, who's here. These are our guests. Hi, guests.
Hello.
So we had a LAN party last night that was fun. We played a lot of Left 4 Dead 2.
Yeah, a game we used to play a lot more, and then we like stopped for a couple years, and all of a sudden last night we finally
We can
Got
pretend. We
back
can
into
pretend
it.
like it's last night if you want to. Yeah.
What did
it
I
was.
say?
Tonight.
Oh. Whatever. We're gonna play again.
But why?
one's a
Why is that one
classic.
so good though? Like, there's so many video games out there. What was it about Left 4 Dead 2? Do you think that's like that makes it such a good LAN party game?
Here's my theory, and it kind of goes back to when I started the LAN parties, of like the purpose of and the kinds of games I choose, is that there's a large portion of that that's cooperative, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even the part that's PvP, which is pretty toxic for the historical LAN parties. Even the PvP part, when you're doing the verses, it's so silly and ridiculous that there's not this over testosterone Halo verse, hey, I owned you, you're gonna die at spawn over and over again crap. It's just ridiculous. The zombies are nuts, right? And playing the
Mhm.
zombies is weird. It's silly when you're a zombie. It's silly when you get attacked by the zombies. So it's fun even when you're losing, I think. Even when you're losing and you got tongued, or the
Smoker's
you're-
got me. I've been
well,
tongued.
yeah, you get tongued, you're getting ridden. All of those things are still just ridiculous. And so it's not this overly toxic, hey, I totally screwed you. It's more, I'm ripping your guts out.
Well,
Yeah.
even last night, Brandon got a really good hit on me with the charger. We were
did.
like on the rooftops, and like just out of nowhere, he just charged me. And like usually with the charger, what we learned is like it's almost impossible to find a straight line because anything gets in his way, and he just stops.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow, just cascading off of one rooftop onto another, and he just took me all the way off the edge of the map,
All the way
into
off.
oblivion.
It was glorious.
That was a really good shot.
That's actually, those are the best memories, right?
Yes.
Is that the time OJ did that to you,
Mm-hmm.
but like that was the most memorable hit ever that we've had.
Well,
in Left 4
okay.
Dead.
So the reason why it was so memorable, at least from my perspective, I'll start off the story,
It was
and
perfect.
you can finish it off, OJ, if you want at the end. But it was a night where we were playing a lot of Left 4 Dead, and we were all getting really into it as the humans, trying to get as far as we possibly could in the missions. We were all trying really hard, and so we're all in the same room, and so we're all like calling out exactly what we're doing, to the detriment of ourselves for the zombies, but we were all like trying to coordinate really hard and like doing calls and say, okay, I'm going this way. Okay, I have a Molotov. Okay, I've got the pipe bomb, doing all these things. And we're almost like trying to move tactically through this map, which is this swamp map where there's like a lot of like
Catwalks.
catwalks that are a little bit high up off of like poles that are stuck into the swamp water. Moving between trying to find gas cans, trying to coordinate that. And we were like in this mode of like almost trying to tactically move through, like keep our eye in like different corners. and we come around this corner to go down this really long catwalk, and OJ is just sitting there waiting for me with a charger with this perfect line. And I come around the corner first. OJ triggers his ability to charge at me, grabs me, takes me all the way down this long catwalk, flies off of it with my teammates not being able to kill him and stop him, and then proceeds to fly across the entire map to the other side of the swamp, like behind a bunch of bushes and trees, to where my team is never going to get to me. They're never going to risk the rest of the gas cans that they have to get to come grab me and save me. And so OJ just has me in his grabs, just pounding me into the floor.
Pounding you into the ground.
It's
What's great is
so
like
funny.
is you can't even plan things like that, right? Like I'm sure I was
Mhm.
just like, I don't know, someone's coming this way, I'll just spawn in. Like none of it crossed my mind. It just those things just happen.
It's just one of
There's
those perfect moments.
perfect timing. Well, oh, there we go. You can't plan those. That was beautiful.
It was
Yeah.
flawless. Like people who haven't played it, like they got to know that the charger is the mutant that like that zombie, it just runs at you, it grabs you and just keeps running and running. But the problem with the charger is that if it touches a grain of sand, even a grain of sand, it's done. If it hits
Yeah.
if it's a tiny little pebble before it gets to you, the abilities you wasted. If it hits the guy and then he hits a pedal, he just stops there and starts pounding you. So to have lined that up on that narrow walkway,
Mm-hmm.
like by accident, and then have it not hit any trees or anything all the whole length of that map
Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
It's art. I'm an artist.
And going back
Um,
to what makes it a
mhm.
good game for the LAN parties, on top of what you said, Wes, I think I would add that it's also a game that nobody really played super seriously. And so we were able to keep it as kind of a joke when funny things happened. Nobody was like, it wasn't a game where you have like a rank or like a standing in the game like you would in like a leaderboard of like something like Halo or something like that, where you have some kind of stats that you're trying to maintain, or even League. League is another game we play, where you can sometimes have stats that could get messed up by losing, or you've played competitively in some other way. Just none of us played Left 4 Dead in any kind of like competitive ish or super serious manner. A lot of us played the game and played like the campaign, but no one took it super seriously outside of the LAN party.
Right. I remember spending time like creating builds and stuff and like timing out when to purchase stuff, but like
For
League
League.
itself, it changes so
Yeah.
often. It just becomes irrelevant almost within a month.
Mhm.
And so like you have to even be more on top of it than that to be competitive in it. And so it's just one of those things where we just decide, you know what, this is purely just fun. Doesn't matter if you lose.
Mhm.
Yeah. The most toxic Left 4 Dead 2 gets is when we on the human side. Like on the
Yeah.
when you're the zombies, it just doesn't like I'm sure good people coordinate and stuff. And we saw that last night when like the good team coordinated and the bad team did not. And it was huge,
Mhm.
huge discrepancy. But like the humans should be better at coordinating with each other and sticking together. And we do get to times where that becomes a little bit angsty of like, I'm dead and I'm right. If you turned around and come save me, I'm just 20 feet. Just come back and save me. And they're just like, oh, I can get a little bit farther on my own. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Or as a
Jeez.
team, we might get even further.
Yeah, right. And then there's that whole thing. Come on, stick with me. Why are you running off on your own and things like that? But
Oh, but I can
that's
get
kind
that
of
gas
fun.
can real quick. I can just go get that one real easy. Then they're smokered. They're
Mhm.
done.
Yeah.
So, do you guys remember your? I'm curious to hear about first LAN parties. Chris, do you remember? Do you remember your first LAN party?
With you guys?
Yeah, or at all if you had one before that.
Wow. Yeah, I guess it can go way back. Like we could talk about renting a Sega Genesis on New Year's Eve with your friends from the
Oh,
video
Holy
yeah.
store.
smokes! Wow, I remember
Um, Mortal Kombat, you know.
ooh,
Yeah, it may even go even further than that when I was quite a bit younger, and the Nintendo was out, that first NES, and me and my uncle, who was not too much older than me, I would sleep over at night at his house, and we would go rent an NES and play Tetris,
Holy
Super Mario
smokes.
Brothers.
But you could rent. I remember, like at Blockbuster, you could rent games, but you could rent systems.
The systems, yeah.
Oh wow.
But I guess
Early days.
that's kind of a LAN party. I guess it's kind of more of a
Well,
video game party.
Like the couch co-op thing. There's technically not a local area network there, Schooler.
Right.
So
oh, watch out! Don't trigger
truly,
Wes.
Yeah, that's a
it's
couch
it's not
co-op.
I remember I at a friend's slurp as a birthday, he got Nintendo 64 and Wave Race for his birthday, and then everyone was really tired and fell asleep. But I stayed up all night unlocking all the stuff in Wave Race for him. By the time they woke up, like all these extra levels were unlocked. I'm like, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we had some twins that lived down the street. Me and the oldest brother would have them over. We'd spend the night. They had the gold cartridge Zelda, and we had the game guide for it. And so they'd come over. We'd spend the night and take turns sleeping, and we'd play Zelda all through the night. And there'd always be like two people awake. One person was controlling, one person on the game guide telling them like what we need to do and where to go next. And
That's
we took
awesome.
shifts like all night long.
Like it was your job.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, you know, I guess that's kind of just talking more about like what attracted us to video games, even at a young age.
I guess it's where like the parties kind of started too, like the playing games together, right? Sort of originated from those, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was before PCs had the ability to play together, really.
Yeah, because we had to do so consoles would get together and play a lot, right? Early days, it was a lot of couch co-op. We played like the early days of like Warcraft 2, you did have the option to directly call each other and you'd get the good modem sounds. I won't mimic those for the poor audience. Like we had to configure, right? It wasn't a LAN party, but our online playing was me and a friend would play Warcraft 2 together and we had to know the right modem codes to put in to our modem config in order to call each other in order to do that. But like that's pretty heinous and you take up the phone line, right? So like
Yeah.
a LAN party, that evolution of being able to have a local actual network, after token rings and weird networking stuff that died. Having it local was really a big deal of just, hey, you can just come over to my house, bring your computer, and we can just play whatever we feel like, and we're just right here. And more than two of us. Because on the phone lines, I don't know if there was ever a way to do more than two people on like those things. All those games were two-player because the most you could connect to each other across a phone line was just one modem to another modem. And so being able to do three people,
that.
right? Us being able to play like Diablo 2 or something, 3 or 4 of us together, me and my roommates after college and stuff, that stuff was beta testing Counter-Strike locally together before Valve got bought, right? All those things were a huge deal to finally be able to do just in the same room together.
And so it sort of was like, even though consoles, it was fun, but like with PCs, it was sort of more of a necessity. In order to play all those together, you sort of had to have a LAN party in order to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember playing Doom with a friend of mine across town, and I bought my first 56K baud modem with my own money, and that was like a big deal. And then, yeah, as things progressed, I played a lot of Diablo 2 with my sister too at her house when as we kind of grew up and got older and moved out, we would get together at her house and play Diablo 2 together.
And I remember the Counter-Strike LAN parties. That's sort of where my first LAN party memories were, is when we started doing that. And I had a clan with some guys in my high school, so they were all pretty close. And so there was like there was a way for us to chat vocally that was called Roger Wilco. It was a little bit before Mumble was around, and we had to have a server. But like even that, it was laggy. The server would crap out, and so if we were having a tournament, it was better if we all just got together. And I remember us all bringing our computers over, getting ready for the tournament, seeing that we could just yell across the room at each other, playing Counter Strike like that.
Yeah, a lot of things happened with Counter Strike early days. Me and my college buddies, the clan here in Utah. Um, that's probably a whole different topic of what was going on there, and like you could buy skill. Like there's a lot going on there that you probably don't want to go into at this. We were doing a lot of things went into that early days of. There's a lot to talk about with that early Counter Strike and the LAN parties we'd have, and how that clan was. It was something. There was something going on there.
I remember in high school, I didn't have a console. Once I got a PC, it was like I was committed to being a PC gamer. And then some friends were like, "Yeah, we're gonna play this game called Halo. We're having a LAN party." And okay, and like, don't worry, just come over. We got the stuff. And I remember going over there, and they had two TVs set up and these Xboxes, and I'm like, "You're calling this a LAN party?"
Well, that's
And
kind of a raw point for me of like calling those LAN parties because
right,
because Schooler's one of the first part of like our core LAN party group, right? He was like one of the very first at the beginning, but like after a year or two of us doing it, it really was like I have a friend Turk, right? Turk and his like in-law brothers were doing a LAN party. Hey, we're gonna play Halo. Come over. And I went over there, and
oh,
they were everything. It was everything that is the stereotype that you expect from the Halo LAN parties, right? Where it's
right,
like
I've been to those
I
where
was
everyone's
pretty.
yelling at each other.
It was just
yeah,
toxic as all hell,
Mhm.
just
so bad.
ridiculous. And I'm a Counter Strike guy, right? I'm like I go through those Counter Strike maps backwards with my clan. I'm the one covering the flank, hopping backwards through those things. And in Counter Strike with a controller or Halo with a controller, I was effectively useless.
Yeah,
And so I'm the guy who every time I spawned, I was immediately dead,
uh
right?
huh,
And the whole thing was so toxic, which kind of generated my theory of what I was doing with starting my LAN parties, right? It was a it was a complete backlash. As I brought in people who weren't gamers, my philosophy for it was a complete backlash against what happened at Halo.
right. And so you started throwing LAN parties, and I think I was probably gone at that point near the beginning of those.
Yeah, where were you in
Um,
like 01, oh
I was in
02?
Australia. Oh no, I was
Australia.
around in '02. I was gone. I left in 2004. So I think I was
Yeah.
there for like a couple. I
But
remember
those
going to your
those
apartment.
02, 01 ones, really there was just three,
Was-
four, five of us,
Yeah, I think
right?
I remember one or two of those.
We had them at our parents' house a couple times, and that's one of the ones you would have probably been at.
That's the
Um,
first one I went to. It was at your
well,
mom's house in Sandy, I think.
no, you
Oh,
came over to our apartment at student housing.
Oh,
You
that's right.
you
Yeah.
and my other cousin Chris,
Yep.
because you guys lived right by us, the two of you would come over to our enormous, 500 square foot, 2-bedroom cinder block apartment. And we'd set up there and play there. That's actually probably where it started was student housing. Um, a k- kind of in student housing, kind of at my parents' house, having people over there to come play.
do you remember what games? Was it just Warcraft 2?
We
A little
started
bit Warcraft 3 eventually.
probably a little bit of Counter Strike, but it was mostly Warcraft 3. Um, we were playing. Me and my roommates were playing like things like Diablo 2 and Counter Strike and StarCraft, um, Brood War and stuff. That's what we'd play in our apartment a lot. But then in student housing, um, that was kind of the beginning of Warcraft 3. Warcraft 3 came out, um, and it lended itself very well to being on a LAN party, the way I wanted a LAN party to go, right? Which is the opposite of a Halo. So
More cooperative play.
more cooperative. So what that meant was it was only cooperative, right? We never played Warcraft 3 against each other. That was like against my philosophy and against the rules that I wanted. Because I didn't want anybody to go away from one of my parties feeling like I did it at the Halo LAN party, right?
Right.
I wanted that to be, if I could get somebody to come once, even if they were terrible at it, absolutely terrible, I wanted them to go to get that feeling of, oh, but I get it. And if I did this again, I could do a little bit better and participate. So with Warcraft 3, um, real-time strategy game, right? But it is there's a gaming design term for it, and it fails at the moment to come up with it what it is. But it has to do with the speed at which the game goes, not frames per second, but if you think of Warcraft 3 against StarCraft 2, right?
The pace.
The pace of which the lethality of two units fighting each other is so slowed down in Warcraft 3 that I could really get anybody. I could get anybody to play Warcraft 3 and get the hang of it and start playing with us. I had you guys know Merritt.
Hmm.
Merritt, not a gamer, right? But he was in my neighborhood and I was like, "Hey, you should just come over to my LAN parties." This was still back in the days of like 4 or 5 people, right?
Hmm. Right.
And I was like, he's like, I don't play games. Like, if you have a computer, this game will run on anything. Blizzard was brilliant. Their games would run on a toaster. You could run a Blizzard game on anything, and even on that other operating system we like to not mention. So
Which I had at the time.
that's what Turk plays on too. But I was like, whatever machine you have, you come over, we'll install this, and it was easy to install Warcraft 3 on things, a little bit hacked, a little bit keygened in some cases.
That's right.
But I made it for a Blizzard. At this point, I've probably bought a dozen copies of Warcraft 3 at this point in my life. So I've more than paid my dues. Don't come after me, lawyers. So I'd have him come over, and I was like, "Don't worry. Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna stop, and you're gonna read every unit what they do. You're gonna read the abilities, read the buildings, you do all of that. You're gonna be in here with me, Schooler, my wife Andrea, um, I can't remember who else was there at the time. We're all gonna be on the same team. So all you have to do is if the computer shows up in your base, you just yell for help, and I will be there. I'll be there with my army. I'll kill them off, and then you have more time to finish building your base. And that makes people feel better. Like, oh, the people who are good. I mean,
Hmm.
we're mediocre, right? I mean,
Right.
we love video games. Reality is, our whole group, with
Eh.
like maybe one exception, two exceptions, we're mediocre.
Right.
I think I've gotten worse over the years.
So Epic is kind of this other thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Epic is this
He's really
other
good
deal.
and kind to us, though. He's gentle when he destroys us.
He's quiet. I sat by him the whole time last night. He didn't say a word, right?
Yeah, he
He's
wasn't
just-
like in your face.
Unless I'm asking him
Suck it.
something, he's just gently ruining everybody. And so I came over and like, don't worry, I'll take care of you, right? You're not gonna have a miserable experience. You're gonna win. You're going to win. You're gonna have fun. We're gonna play a bunch of times, and you'll eventually get used to it. And you won't have this pressure of you're making us lose, or all these other really skilled people are just stomping on you the whole time. All of that's removed. You're just gonna play with us. And Merritt is now Merritt now is not what he was then, right? So he was this like, okay, and I'd have to go, hey, by now you should have one unit in your hero. He's like, oh, I forgot to build the unit building, right? So he'd go and do that. And this is not even Merritt specific. This is everybody I've introduced to LAN parties and playing Warcraft 3. It's like, oh, I forgot to build the altar. I forgot to build any units. I'm like, so by now you should have about 3 guys. Come and join us fighting these creeps over here. I'd ping the map, come with us over here. And for some people, just be like, we'll be 20 minutes into it. I'm like, hey, if you have an army by now, we're just over here on the map mopping up the computer. You can come join us and have part of the combat part of it. Just come, whatever you have right now, they won't die. Just come over. I've got like 1,000,000 archers. Like, and Andrea has 1,000 orcs in front of them, and we're just
Yeah.
Right.
working over the enemy at this point. Just come join us. And that was like, bring people in, they had a good time, and they would come back. And like after a month, Merritt was like, so how do I build a new computer? Like, can I build a computer that will play this game for real, right? And like, it works. It gets almost anybody into playing video games. And now Merritt is the one who's like, come on, guys, we got to move to this point. Come on, we got to move over here. Hey, get together. We got to group up, group up, group up.
And he
like-
does yell,
He
Yeah,
does.
he does.
Right?
which is great.
It's completely different. Now he took over, and I was like, I can just play now. I don't have to direct anything. Merritt has taken over that role of like, here's the progression. Everybody's got to be together. You got to have this many things. We got to be over here. And I'm just like, build my shit and not worry about having to direct everybody else because Merritt's on it.
So I want to fast forward just a touch to
Mhm.
Brandon. Do you remember perhaps maybe like your first LAN party?
I do remember very specifically. So it starts with the fact that my mom was very weary of video games because she was swept up in the hype of video games are scary on like the mom talk of like moms getting together and being like, oh, video games are scary, they're gonna ruin our children, kind of a thing, you know.
Like a satanic panic kind of idea.
A little bit. But she was like hesitant of them. And so somehow Wes convinced her to let me come play video games, which I was already kind of playing like StarCraft and stuff like that on my own and playing other games. But I was convinced to be able to come to a LAN party. And somehow, even as an anxious little child, I agreed to go to a strange cousin's house who I didn't really know. I didn't really know you guys. Strange adults that like came over for like the Christmas party every once in a while. And then you guys just knew a bunch of other adults that I was now coming to a LAN party with. But I had this old little laptop, my dad's old work laptop, that I guess Wes had deemed good enough to like play some of the games. I show up with my little laptop, just like clutching this laptop to my chest, like scared to death of like walking to this room of like all these people playing games, like already in the midst. Like I think I probably showed up late. And Wes directed me over to this table, sat me down, opened up the laptop, turned it on, and then handed me a stack of discs and said, okay, start with these two and install the things. When it says to switch the disc, pull it out and put in the next one. And I went through and installed Warcraft 3 and Battlefield 1943 or 2 or whatever it was.
1942.
1942.
With the Desert Strike.
And I remember getting both of those installed, and I was confused by the fact that they didn't have. Now all of them had like the really fancy graphic on the front of the disc, and didn't understand what that meant. And the fact that, wait, but this is your disc. Is this my disc now? No, this is our disc. And I was like, okay, I don't understand that. I had to buy my own disc for my games. I don't understand what this means. But okay, sure. I guess I'll just give this disc back.
Oh no.
And you installed this last disc that's called patch at the very end. Don't install this one first. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. Because that's just how it was back then. People can come after me all they want. That's just how it was done back then, and everybody knew it.
Yeah.
But I got those installed, and it was very much so what Wes already described of like, I mean, I wasn't great at StarCraft 1, so I could kind of translate a little bit to Warcraft 3, but it's very much so if I had questions, someone would tell me I need to build units, and then I'd have an army, and I'd see like pings or calls of like, hey, we're going to attack. And I'd just see like the groups of enemies on the little map and just send my units that way and hope they did something to help. And then call out when I was being attacked. But I remember the fun of joining in on those large map, big group Warcraft games, and then the chaos of Battlefield 1942, which
Yes.
for the most part we played against AI, but we would do these. It almost kind of followed the same path of Left 4 Dead, where it was kind of just chaotic, funny PvP against each other on these maps, where it was really just like grab
They were capture the point. That point capture. You go to a little mini outpost and then like raise its flag up, and then your team owns that outpost. That was one of my fondest memories is playing that Battlefield 1942, and just like being crouched behind a sandbag waiting for the flag to go up, and then you hear a helicopter.
Yeah.
And it's probably like Schooler coming in with a helicopter, just like coming right in after you, and like almost touching you with the nose, just sending all these rockets in to destroy you.
Yeah, because the chaos was there was a bunch of vehicles, but none of us could really,
They were so hard. They were so hard to do.
and so there wasn't like the toxicity of like the skill level where like someone was really good with vehicles. We all just kind of really sucked with them, and it just created the funny chaos of the weirdest things with those vehicles.
Just driving the helicopter right into the base or into a tank. That was the best way to take out a tank. Just drive something
Matt could
into
fly
it.
the helicopters really
Matt
well.
could do it. Yeah,
Matt
it
was
probably
really
Matt.
good at the helicopters.
Oh, really? Okay.
I do
Yeah.
remember that.
Matt really did the helicopters well and would just destroy you in those.
Yeah, I couldn't do the helicopters. They were really difficult. I do remember Matt being good at them. I tried it.
That was kind of my first experience with a LAN party. Was with that little dinky laptop, and then it just kind of grew from there. I kept getting invited to the LAN parties for some reason, and I didn't get that as a kid with these strangers that were so-called family.
And around that time, the LAN parties started to get a bit bigger too. And I think it was around that time where we decided to hold a big regular one right after Thanksgiving and call it the Turkey LAN.
Yeah. Brandon's mom is partially. I mean, that started pretty early, the turkey lands. But Brandon's mom is actually partially to blame for that.
I did not know that.
A little bit, yeah.
Because it was
Uh-huh.
right because of Black Friday.
Yep, she
Right?
would take the women out to go shopping on Black Friday, and so it was, well, what are we gonna do? Let's play video games.
Yep, Mike. That's when the LAN parties. We're gonna do a LAN party on Friday and Saturday. I'm off work for no good reason. We're gonna do LAN parties because everybody else goes shopping on that day. I'm like, and I did a couple times with your mom. We'd go at like 5 a.m. somewhere to get something or something. But in general, it was like I have nothing to do on this Black Friday thing. Whatever. We're gonna have a 48-hour party.
There you go.
And Merritt wrote a song for it.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it any good?
Why don't I remember that?
No, it's about 3 lines long.
Oh,
Turkey
Okay.
Land, come play games on tryptophan. That's the whole.
Oh my
That's the whole song
I remember it now.
that Merritt wrote for
That's
us.
right.
Yeah, I remember for a lot of years there, my mom still wanted to drag me to Black Friday. And so my Turkey LAN staying up schedule was like extra long because that Thursday night, I would be awake all Thursday night helping my mom do Black Friday, and then would show up Friday morning for Turkey LAN and then stay awake until Saturday night, essentially, with like 1 or 2 hours sleep periods through all of that. Back when everyone actually stayed up really late for the LAN parties.
I remember that. Holy smokes. There was one of those years where me and OJ kept laughing like into the night, and we were told, hey, you got to settle down. You guys are being too loud. And I think we're playing Gary's Mod.
We were playing Gary's Mod, and Wes's wife came down and was like genuinely very upset. And we were like, oh, okay. But it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and we were laughing so hard and so loud. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's been right balancing that. Hey, there's little kids asleep with we're playing hilarious Left 4 Dead all night long. Rip out the guts, rip out the guts. We're yelling at each other like, I got smokered. And they're like, but I've got like a 2-year-old trying to sleep. Like Andrew's trying to keep a 2-year-old asleep or something like that. And that's been a struggle. There was one year I sent them to a hotel. That didn't work really all that well, but
I thought you did.
Like-
I thought you did that for a few years.
we've tried different things where they've been somewhere else, or I send them to a hotel, and it ends up not working, especially now that like all of my kids come basically. So it's just weird, but they still need to go to sleep sometime. So like, they still need to go to sleep, but we're yelling.
Well, that's a cool part too, right? So now it's sort of being passed on to the next generation. I don't know how have your kids been responding to the LAN party? What do they really think about it?
Well, it probably started with schoolers, kids actually. Like that's probably the beginning of kids coming to the land. I mean, other than the
Yeah.
ones who other than like Brandon, or there was one kid down the street who like would bring his wagon. He'd load his computer and walk 4 houses into a wagon and walk 4 houses down to our
I
house.
remember that.
Yeah. But like of our own children, like I think your kids is where that begins. Your daughter, right?
Yeah. Yeah. She started coming with me, and she's still there. She was there last night. She likes it. I think it's kind of cool. It's something that we've included our kids on, and they can enjoy and in the fun and the festivities. And I think that really comes down to what you were talking about, Wes, and making the LAN parties approachable for everyone, so people don't have to feel scared to come to it. It's a place where everyone can just kind of hang and have fun. In fact, a lot of years we'll just sit and talk more than we play games. But my kids just kind of grew up coming with me, and they enjoy it. They really like coming to the LAN parties. And even now that I have the other two younger ones, they're old enough now where they can come and interact with the other kids and play Minecraft and Gary's Mod especially, and they're screaming across the room, and sometimes it's really hilarious and sometimes it's really annoying.
Your kids are always hilarious, just when they're yelling.
Well, they get madder at each other than the adults ever have playing any of our. Even if when we played something that was like against each other, it's the kids who get mad at each other. Like
Yeah.
like over Minecraft, somebody did this to my house or whatever, and like
Yeah.
they're the ones who get upset and mad. And like my kids are all come to the LAN parties now. Last night, two of them sat and just watched one of the other kids just play a game for like hours. They're just watching somebody else. Me and several of the kids were, and we had one audience member playing Rock Band on
Oh,
the Xbox 360 in the basement. We had one audience member. Apparently, we don't play very well, and even he left. He was so he was so fed up with how badly we were doing. Brandon's like, I've had enough.
I have this really good Rock Band memory where we were all at PAX East. I mean, PAX Prime,
yeah.
and you and Matt and like all you guys were up on the mic and on the drums and the guitars on that Rock Band set they had us set up. And
Yeah, we
you
did a
guys had
Weezer
there were
song.
a lot of people at that.
Yeah, they got really into it. The audience there, we
Oh, it
That
we
was
was
really
awesome.
really
rocked
fun.
that. It was great.
But
All five of those people watching us just loved it.
We had even people up on the balcony up above,
Oh yeah.
stopping and watching over the railing. Because, right? Because we're not good. I was probably on vocals even, and like
you were.
I'm not I'm not a musician, right? I'm not good, but I think they don't care if you're having fun,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
We're like,
To watch someone just like fully dedicate and just have a blast playing the game, whether they're good or not.
just commit hard 110%. And the fact that I don't sing that well. I sing mediocre-ish competently, but I'm not good, right? But the guitarists are like rocking out. You're not just standing there trying to hit your notes, right? The drummer's really going at it. I'm moving around the stage a bunch. We're not technically good. We're not 100%ers. We're not playing on expert or hard even. We're just like, but we commit, and so it's fun for everybody. And they're like, these guys are really trying. These guys are really just having a good time, and it's contagious. Having a good time's contagious. I guess that's my philosophy. If you're having fun, it's contagious, even if you're no good.
Now, I'm reminded of one particular LAN party that we did where about 6 of us decided we were going to play Destiny 2 the entire LAN party.
Yes.
I was included in that.
And there
6.
was a lot of people there, probably about more than 20.
Yeah, in that era, like right now we get 30 to 40 people, right? Around that time we did have easily 20 to 30 people there. And the
And
6 of us.
the core group of us, about 6 of us, were like, we're going to play this game that no one else can play with us. And we're going to do this raid in Destiny 2, which was honestly super memorable for us.
It was one of the funnest LAN parties I think we've ever had. Not just because we played Destiny, but just generally speaking, I remember really enjoying it.
That was so good. It was so memorable, and like that accomplishment will remember. Not a lot of LAN
Yeah.
parties remember, but in video games. But like that's one of the top 5 accomplishments where we did it. We're not good, right? That raid had been beaten long before we tried for hours and hours over weeks and weeks and weeks, right? We're not good.
It was
But,
just
like,
finally one of those moments where we
us
had like
doing
a
it.
dedicated amount of time we could take over to like beat our heads against this raid and finally beat it. Whereas before we'd had like little, maybe 2 to 3 hour little stints of time that we could attempt it. But this time we had like what felt like an unlimited amount of time to like try it.
And by try it, what Brandon really means is try to get us to actually follow the instructions he's providing. That's what
I came with charts and printouts and maps.
we make him against his will lead a lot of things. And so he was like the raid leader, but like we're borderline incompetent. Like it should be easy to just like, guys, just don't be seen by the dog. Guys, just make it back to here before the timer runs out. Guys, guys, you just jump through the hole that's lit up. Guys, just don't fall through the hole. Like we just can't listen.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. Like I had, yeah, because I was the one that played Destiny even at that point the most. Like I just fell in love with it. I still play it a ton. But yeah, I had like come prepared. Like we even at one point for the dog, there like
The whiteboarding.
in the raid, there's like different encounters you go through that each have their own like mechanic. And I remember specifically for the dog one, where we're like in this garden area and you had to like avoid the dogs, then you had to go hunt them, and there's just like all these things we did. We went like upstairs, like away from the LAN party, and found like a whiteboard, and basically had like a class in session moment for like a half hour where I explained like the rotation, drew the map up on the board, and said, "Okay, you're gonna be here, and you're gonna be here. You have to follow this person's words. These people can't talk until this phase because we don't want to like have too much chatter going on, so you can hear when like calls are like it was a whole thing."
I think
That
it's
was awesome.
It was borderline ridiculous, but
There's a difference between that and having a meeting together and yelling at each other for, like competitively. The key here is it was co-op. It's we worked as a team, as a group, and we enjoyed each other and just had a good time doing it and solved this puzzle together.
Now, so there was
think I
the
know where
others
you're
that were at the
going.
LAN party that they were probably not very happy that we were so occupied with this.
Yeah, there's a lot that happens at the LAN parties where there's this expectation that we're all going to play a game together, right? And
Mhm.
early on, that was really easy to accommodate, right? We had at most 8 people, and we could load up the Warcraft. You have to understand, Warcraft 3 for 8 straight years. That is the only game we played for 8 years. Every LAN party, that is what we played. Different, what do they call the custom maps or whatever, tower defenses, Warcraft 3 regular, and we could balance pretty well, 8 of us against like 8 computers. I would modify difficulties and computer levels to try to get them to just barely beat us or us beat them. I tried to really, it was me manually balancing right.
Right.
I was the balancing of, I'd like, okay, we beat them So let me tweak one from medium to a hard, right? And so but the expectation is that we all play together, and 20 people cannot really play Warcraft 3 together. 20 people can't play League of Legends together. You can play 5-on-5 against each other. 20 people can't play Destiny 2 together. We can't do it, but there's people who will sit and play nothing until there's an open slot to play with some of us, right? Um, and I do wish, and I don't know how to fix it, but I do wish that they would just like, what do you want to play? We've had LAN parties where like 10 people are playing of League of Legends, 3 of us are playing mud tires,
Spin tires,
spin tires, Mud Runner.
Mud Runner.
2 people are playing StarCraft 2 for 48 hours. They were just playing StarCraft 2, but that's not what they wanted to play. Those 2 were a co-op competitive group where those 2 just played that the whole time. And I wish it was more like that, where more people were okay with that, but there's still a lot of people where it really is, unless we can all play something together, 15 of us, it's hard to choose something, and we just cannot do that. I get why they're upset, because they came to play or just hang out and talk to me. They came to play and just hang out with Matt or OJ. Like they came to just talk in some regards. Some of them are really just there to sit and hang out and talk. But it really is hard to get everybody to play together. And so when we did that, we're like the core 6.
Yeah.
We were like, we're going to go do something that the rest of you don't even know what it is, and we're going to exclude you. Did not go over very well.
That was pretty rough.
It's interesting that we could all feel that it wasn't quite right, but we just kept doing it because we were having so much fun together.
Yeah.
We could tell. We're like, oh, you
We
know
could
what?
tell.
We're kind of doing this, and everyone else is just doing something else.
Like to the point where they were like trying to install Destiny and attempt to speed run to a point where they could join us.
They could join us. Yeah.
Full on Destiny.
That's
It
right.
requires hours of grinding. Like some of them were trying to like speed run through the campaign so they could like get to the level, and then maybe we could split into like 2 different teams of 6 and run the raid. Is like what I think their like hope was. But yeah, there's also, on top of wanting to just all play together, there's also a lot of people that come to the LAN party to specifically play with the like core group of brothers. Like the core people who started the LAN party, that core group of like 4 people, a lot of them come to specifically play with them. And if they're occupied in something, they will do the same thing of like, they'll just sit there and wait and not play anything until they can join that game. Not all the time, not every time, but a lot of the time, that's the other part of that mentality that's happening.
Yeah. So I guess that's growing pains when LAN parties get larger.
I think it's slightly getting better, but
yeah, we definitely learned that year, because didn't we make a kind of a pact that we wouldn't do that again?
we made a pact that we wouldn't run the raid, like a 6-man raid again at the LAN party.
Last night, where were we?
Here and there, where we played Destiny again and played like.
Yeah. What were you and
Yeah,
what were you two doing last
what
night?
me and Brandon doing? Trying to do a 3-person 6-man raid.
Yeah. So there's been a couple instances where that's happened.
But if it's just the 2 of us,
it was just the 2 of you. Yeah.
it doesn't matter as much. If it's just, that's the problem, is there was the 6. It's like we took everybody from them. And
they saw the 6 having a ton of fun trying to coordinate doing it.
Yeah.
So others kind of felt left out, unfortunately.
Yeah. Man, it was.
I felt bad because those 2 brothers that I would bring, that were my neighbors.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they kind of first started in your basement when you lived near me. They loved the Turkey Land. They were really excited to come. But I mean, they got older, and things kind of changed. But they came that year.
Oh no.
And I felt so bad because I felt like I kind of ignored them.
Oh no.
And they like came all the way to Matt's house, way out farther away from everybody else. They drove a ways. I felt so
You
bad.
abandoned them.
Yeah, they kind of came and they hung out for a bit, and then they went home and they didn't come back, and I felt so bad.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was like, whoops. So that was kind of too
So
bad. But
I'm trying to understand what we think the future might look like, because there aren't a whole lot of newer games, like, right? Because we keep going back to StarCraft 2, Left 4 Dead 2.
with like hosting a bunch of people in a game.
well, it's interesting. That's why we're playing those older games, is so we can accommodate more people in a session.
They don't.
So
Games are not built for that anymore. I'm hopeful that there's 3 RTSs coming out, and I'm hopeful that they're not the speed of StarCraft 2, because that's just frankly, we tried to get people to play StarCraft 2.
Yeah.
We play the mods, right? We'll spend 6 hours in Ice Banelings, no problem. We'll spend 12 hours in some tower defense just because we don't know what we're doing, and like one person will mess it up. We got no problem with that. But trying to play StarCraft 2 the way we played Warcraft 3 just didn't stick, because the skill disparity, because of the speed of the game, just was no good. We couldn't get people to play at the speed like me and Brandon play at, right? Of StarCraft 2. And we have people in the group who play StarCraft 2 really well. We're just like, my rank in StarCraft 2 was 50 gold. So I was exactly mediocre. I'm not good. But for people learning how to play, you'd get run over by the computer so fast you didn't know what happened, and I couldn't save them because it's too fast. But the new ones coming out, there's 3 new ones coming out that are being worked on, some by Blizzard alumni and stuff, and I'm hoping that they're talking about them being more the speed of Warcraft 3, something like that. They could work. Hopefully they are less toxic towards the mod and custom map community, because Blizzard destroyed StarCraft 2, right? When they cut their legs out from under the map creators, and so they all abandoned it, and so we're left with only maps that were built 5 years ago. That's the most recent. So if the newer ones accommodate that sort of thing, it could work. I think if we could find something that felt like Desert Strike,
Oh yeah.
right? I just don't know that exists. It would be like, there was a game once that came out that I thought would work really well, but it like tanked so, it was really fun, but it tanked so hard and just didn't get adopted, so I could never really bring it to the group. It was called World in Conflict. It was probably one of the most clever first person shooter ish vehicle things, or actually kind of third. It was more third person if you were the vehicles. Actually, it was very third person RTS, but it was brilliant, but it didn't catch on. Otherwise, it would have been a brilliant thing to bring in. But there's not something. League of Legends, you're locked into 5v5, and yeah, we played that for half a decade probably.
yeah,
League
it
of
was
Legends
fun.
being the only thing we played. Right when it came out, we went to that PAX where they were releasing the new version that we thought was going to be the amazing thing that was going to take over after MOBAs, and I don't think anybody played it since. I don't think anybody plays Dominion mode. It just didn't
Oh.
work. We waited in line
Yeah.
for an hour to play that before anybody could, right? And it didn't work. League of Legends, you're locked into a very specific number of counts. You're playing Helldivers 2 right now. That's locked into a very specific number count. Left 4 Dead 2 is great, and we were okay when we were playing that like 4v3 or something. It's okay. The person with the bot probably loses. The team with the bot probably is going to lose, but we're not playing to win that game, right?
Yeah.
So it's not that big of a deal when we don't have even numbers. League of Legends, whoever has the bot is going to lose, but that's a big deal. And there's
Yeah.
just the devs are locking into certain player counts.
Yeah.
I don't know a way or how to fix it.
The cost of entry to something like League of Legends is higher too. And I'm not talking about monetarily, but just you have to know about the game. You have to like almost study it. And it's changing all the time.
That's why ARAM
So-
works so well for us, though.
Right. So when that came around, that helped a lot. That works for us. That's the best way for us to play that game in the LAN group. And occasionally we'll break apart for the more serious League of Legenders, and and play it more competitively, and that's still fun too. But the point here is we can take in the person that's never played it before and throw them into it, and they can still kind of have fun. Those are the games that we like, it seems. And well, I mean, I'm going a little backwards here, but when Dota, the Dota mod was around for Warcraft 3, and we discovered that was some of the funnest LAN parties we ever had. Because all the things were overpowered, like it wasn't balanced at all. So if you found the overpowered item, you could just it was just a lot of fun. But there was some discovery there, and I think that's another common theme with our LAN parties is we find a game that we discover and have to learn and figure out. And we do it as a group. It's problem solving as a group, and I think that's something that can be enjoyable in LAN parties or at LAN parties.
The only genre that's really lending itself to that at all is the survival games, right? And
Yeah.
that really is. And I don't enjoy the one we play so much, but I know that there's a person who I can go to Camp Mama, and she will have everything set up for me, and I can just
7 days to die.
Yes, 7 days to die. If I find it's like I just start off, find M, go to M, because I don't really enjoy it. It's not what the game started as, right? I enjoyed it when
Yeah, they've changed it
early
too
days,
much.
but what the game is now, I'm not having any fun. But
Yeah.
if that's what we're all gonna play, I'll play it. But all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to M. She's gonna have everything set. I'll go collect resources, bring them back. I'll go shoot some zombies sometimes, bring them back. And that's my mode. Is I go find M because M's the pro. Go find M, and that's what I'll do. I'm not gonna screw around with me trying to survive and cut down trees with my fists, and try to survive the burning zombies. I'm gonna go find M. She's already got everything set up by the time I load in, and then I'll be fine. She's the Wes in 7 Days for Die, right? From Warcraft 3, it was don't worry, I'll come save you. M is the Wes over in 7 Days to Die. It's no, I'm just gonna go to M and she has everything there and I'll be safe.
The thing
We did
with,
have a
with
lot of fun with that for a
with
while.
survival games, even to make that work though at a LAN party, requires heavily customizing the server so that we can, get a bunch of XP, get a bunch of loot, so that it's a game we can cram into 4 hours and have a full experience.
Yeah, at a LAN party you don't have. What did it take to tame a T-Rex in Ark for?
Oh my god!
on standard settings, right? It was
Yeah.
we would switch off. We would take shifts of taming a
Hitting
T-Rex.
schedules of okay, I gotta go to dinner. Can someone babysit my dinosaur for 2 hours?
Yeah.
That was a fun one for a while.
You can't do that in a LAN party. And so you've got to, like you said, you've got to change the settings so that it's LAN party friendly.
So you kind of have to have a dungeon master for those types of games and so those games that have server side settings that allow you to tweak them are good for our use, but then someone has to learn it.
And that's what I did with 7 Days to Die. That last time we did it, I ended up being the game master, flying around. I remember Brandon, was it? Yeah, you were in a bad way, so I'm like, here's some bandages.
Okay, here's a splint. Here's some bandages. Here's a new spear. Go have fun, buddy. Patted my back and shoved me back on my way.
Speaking of Ark and the kids being a part of it, my kids loved that game. Do you remember when it was just me and my 2 kids came to your house, OJ, and we played it with you and Emily?
Was it Ark?
Yeah, I think it was Ark.
I don't remember, but yeah, actually, I do remember us having a little tiny LAN party here one day. But that's the thing with those. So they do require all that customability, and some of those don't even have that. Like we tried Sons of the Forest, which that just completely flopped. That was just there was nothing we could do. I remember trying to go to the settings and try to change the AI, but they were just so overpowered. There's nothing we could do about it. So it was just that was toast. But I guess that's how it is. That's the fun, just trying those things out.
It was a couple turkey lands ago we found Tribes of Midgard, and that worked for a bit. That was a good one.
We could get a ton of people in that too. It's 12.
We need more games like that we can stack people in. That's why we're playing these old games.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the problem is that it's really only survival games nowadays that allow that many players on a map typically, because you're typically in a massive map for a survival game, and they a little bit easier to lend to having larger groups of connections for the sake of having like a public server that a bunch of people are connecting to play. So there's not a lot of other games that are allowing that kind of capacity besides survival games.
Yeah, and then even then, the nature of some of the survival games isn't conducive to co-op. It's a little bit more like go out and survive. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you end up just building your own bases, and it's like we're not really playing together anyway,
Yeah.
which is
Remember Rust?
unfortunate.
I was first about month that we played Rust. I could not stop laughing. That game was so funny, but then it became so just toxic that it was like, all right, we're done with this.
Oh my gosh.
It was fun there for a stint, though.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts about LAN parties? Anything we didn't cover? Something you wanted to say or anything like that? We need more LAN party games, devs.
There,
Yeah.
yeah, something that's more conducive to a bunch of people together. And it needs to be something you can get through fast,
Oh
right?
my gosh!
Warcraft
And
3
you
was
know what I
perfect.
keep hearing though is I because I've complained about this a lot more publicly, and I hear things like, well, "What about Fortnite? What about Fall Guys?" And it's like, I know, right? There's this. There's a bit of quality you lose when you go to something like that. Uh, they're really games meant for really tiny children, in my opinion. They're just kid games that honestly just don't even work that well. I tried Fortnite a lot, and the gunplay is just pathetic. And it's like
No,
you have these games, but they're that are mass sort of games that could work technically, but they're for kids and they're just stupid.
because if we did Fortnite, the first person out, what do?
Yeah, for the next
Are just
30
gonna
minutes.
they just sit and wait for for the final storm, whatever thing, to finally get small enough? Whatever's going on in there, I don't understand it, and it wasn't fun the couple times I tried to play it with my kids. I was
Well,
not having fun. The fact, like somebody who in '99 and 2000 was at at the Counter Strike forefront, it's like a random number generator for shooting. I'm like,
Yeah.
this should not be a when I pull the trigger, it shouldn't be a DM rolling dice back somewhere to see if I hit the target. What's going on here? Like in some cone and some weird math they've got going on. Whereas like we're used to having op whores, right? The old Counter Strike people, we expect op whores, we expect the AUG to work correctly. We expect things to like if my crosshairs is on it when I fire, it better hit the hitbox. Right. You
Right.
can do whatever you want for jitter and stuff, but if my crosshairs were dead on the hitbox when I pulled the trigger, it better hit.
well, a lot of these games are live service games, and maybe I mean, that's the business model now. That's what everyone wants. Everything's online, and they're live service, and that's how they're making money through microtransactions and such. I guess what we're kind of asking for is something that's very land friendly. Like, I know it's against business models, but it was awesome when you could buy one copy of the game and everyone can just load it up and nobody was inhibited and they couldn't play the game just because couldn't.
They did it on purpose. Blizzard intentionally had I can't remember what they called it, but they had like a spawn, was it spawn version you could install on a friend's machine,
Yeah.
and they could play a spawn copy with you, so you only had to buy one. Like they were intentionally friendly about doing, and really to give them credits, Blizzard did make StarCraft 2 basically free, right? Um, it's free at this point if you want to play it. So they had some really good mentalities for that sort of thing. But now, yeah, there's not. They want a subscription model everything or microtransaction everything. And
And
some of us would actually be willing to do that if it was a game where we could control it's just us, right? We were allowed to just lock it to just if we could play. We said this for a decade now, right? Where World of Tanks, if we didn't have to grind, if there was a mode where we're not gaining XP or anything, no grind, no nothing, but we could lock it to just us, and we could play with pretty smart bots of some kind, right? Let us
Mhm.
have 12v12 in some of their game modes and stuff. Where I don't expect to get silver out of this. I don't expect to get XP or unlock a tank, but let me choose from all the tanks and have just or even tier 8 and below, right? Give us something reasonable. All of us together in one place, together against smart mods, World of Tanks, we'd play that for the next decade every LAN party.
Yeah, we would.
Every
Oh
LAN
yeah.
party.
Because that could hold a large group of people. Because they do allow the custom games. It's just that you're still locked to the tanks that you've grinded out, and there's no smart AI.
And if Bob down the street, who I finally convinced to come play, right? He's not unlocked anything, so we're stuck. What? All playing tier 1s?
Yeah, which can be fun, but it's just
That's not the same game as
it's
tier
not
8.
fun. It's not as fun.
Yeah, it's not like we're looking to play it competitively and cheat with online. We just want to play with each other, you know?
And
Like
you
if
know
I
what?
go to the
Yeah, when Bob plays it and he likes it, you know what? He's gonna go home and buy it, and he's gonna buy 2 premium tanks, start buying gold ammo.
yeah.
Like, give me the option to advertise for you, right? I bring people to video games. Give me a way to do that in your game. Give me a way to like bring somebody in where they've got no layout out front, and I can bring them in and give them a taste of the true fun part. Don't make them grind for 6 weeks before they can play the fun part. Let me put them right in the middle of the fun part. Let me babysit them a little bit. Let me put my tug in front of them as a shield. Tog. It's a tog. Like, let me put that in front of them as a shield, and they like can poke around behind me. Let them play the IS and stuff like that. Like, let them do that for 4 hours with me to LAN party. And you know what? They're gonna go home and they're gonna buy the premium tank. They're gonna go and buy XP boosts. They're gonna do that because they're like, that was fun. I wanna do that more. Why game devs won't let me sell their game, I don't know.
Because we're so in the minority. Nobody else does this.
I know.
There's such a small market of people that do it like we do, that they just have zero reason to really actually do that, which is sad. And I think a lot of the people that don't do it probably would if they knew and experienced how cool it was.
They would love it.
I think they would love it, and I think there would be a big market. They're just the newer gamers just don't have a way to experience it and
Do it online.
cool and fun that is.
We can play together online though. Why would I wanna bring my whole computer over to your house? And since 2001 or 2 or whatever, everybody thinks a LAN party only means Halo. Like it got corrupted.
Yeah.
It's true. When I talk about LAN parties, I've explained to them what I do, but when I first tell somebody that hasn't heard about what we do, they're like, "Oh yeah, LAN parties. Yeah, everyone gets their Xboxes together and gets mad at each other." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. This is not what that is. We bring our wives, we bring our kids, we all just have a good time and talk and have fun."
We swim in the pool
Yeah.
during break time. We jump in the pool and try to catch fish in the pool during
Oh
break
my
time
gosh.
of the LAN party.
Now PETA's gonna be after us.
Oh, no talking, no talking.
Sometimes there's a couple pinball machines Matt had there one year.
Oh, that
That
was
was
cool.
awesome.
They don't. It's PAX without any vendors. It's like a bunch of people getting together. I wish people would come and cosplay. That'd be great. Schooler, talk to Aaron about that. They've got some cosplay going on. We could have a sponsor show up, have a food cart out front. We make it to the point, like, it would be great if we got to the point where I had to, if I had to charge and rent a hotel conference center, right? A conference room, and whatever the admission cost is to pay for renting that out from them. But if it got huge, and it's not going to, but we always knew that if it got big, we could go to a conference center. We could try to get a sponsor of some kind. We could have a food truck park out front. We could do those things. But it's so hard to, and frankly, I've never had any interest of running it in the first place. I've never had any interest in actually being what I am to
Like
this.
producing all of that.
Yeah, I don't.
there was the one LAN party where I thought it would be fun to have tournaments,
You went
and then
all
I
out.
ended up running, had a spreadsheet, ran a couple tournaments, had prizes. It was technically fun for everyone,
Yeah,
but
I thought it was fun. It was nice and different from what we
it was
usually do.
very hard work for me. I didn't have a LAN party that year.
I do remember that too. You were just like the circus ringleader guy, just telling everybody what's going on next, and like it did look like a lot of work.
Yeah, yeah.
It,
So
it-
being that person is
doable.
too right. So you kind of want to get to that stage, but then like, who's gonna do it for you? Because you don't want to do it.
That
You don't wanna
person
be that
has to
guy.
be in it to like earn money or have some of their benefit off of it, and that's not the point of my LAN parties, right?
Right.
My LAN parties is not about anybody. It's not about being a big deal like that. Like to the point where like you've seen where I'll be at the LAN party and who's in the corner the farthest away from everybody. What two people are in a corner of the room the farthest away from everybody, and everybody's playing something and we're on spin tires or something else where like nobody can talk to us, nobody knows anything about this game. It's just me and Brandon. They're all doing their League of Legends stuff. We got them hooked on something else somewhere else, and we can be left the hell alone at a party where I'm like, I invited 40 people to my house, but what do I want to do? Sit in a corner and not really deal.
There is a one game that just came to mind that everyone can just load up and play. Clicker
What's that?
Heroes.
Yes.
That's kind of a running joke, sorry.
Or
That's
Mountain.
best set. Yeah, it's his top game.
All right. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us with that conversation. Thanks for anyone who watched, for surfing in. This is on Spotify now, also. So if you're more into that, you can look for the BroJ podcast on Spotify. Well, okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, thanks.
Bye. Thanks for inviting us.